So I'm going to start reading today on page 126, line 357. Worlds were there of a happiness great and grave. So this is part of quite a long section in which Sri Aurobindo describes worlds of griefless life. Asvapati is being shown worlds very different from our own, where there is no grief and pain and suffering. But those worlds are not all the same. Each one has its own characteristic, or there are several that have similar characteristics. So that's what I'm going to read about now. Worlds were there of a happiness great and grave, and action tinged with dream, laughter with thought, and passion there could wait for its desire until it heard the near approach of God. Worlds were there of a childlike mirth and joy, a carefree youthfulness of mind and heart found in the body a heavenly instrument. It lit an aureate halo round desire and freed the deified animal in the limbs to divine gambols of love and beauty and bliss. On a radiant soil that gazed at heaven's smile, a swift life impulse stinted not nor stopped. It knew not how to tire. Happy were its tears. There work was play, and play the only work, the tasks of heaven, a game of godlike might, a celestial bacchanal forever pure, unstayed by faintness as in mortal frames. Life was an eternity of rapture's moods. Age never came, care never lined the face. Imposing on the safety of the stars, a race and laughter of immortal strengths, the nude god children in their playfields ran, smiting the winds with splendor and with speed. Of storm and sun they made companions, sported with the white mane of tossing seas, slew distance, trampled to death under their wheels, and wrestled in the arenas of their force. Imperious in their radiance like the suns, they kindled heaven with the glory of their limbs, flung like a divine largesse to the world. A spell to force the heart to stark delight, they carried the pride and mastery of their charm as if life's banner on the roads of space. Ideas were luminous comrades of the soul. Mind played with speech, cast javelins of thought. but needed not these instruments toil to know. Knowledge was nature's pastime like the rest. Investitured with the fresh heart's bright ray, an early God instinct's child inheritors, tenants of the perpetuity of time, still thrilling with the first creation's bliss, they steeped existence in their youth of soul. An exquisite and vehement tyranny, the strong compulsion of their will to joy, poured smiling streams of happiness through the world. You will start, Martin?
Worlds were there of happiness great and great, and action tinged with dream, laughter with thought, and passion there would wait for its desire, until it heard the near approach of God.
So these worlds of happiness great and grave, he only gives one sentence to them. It's a happiness which is, in a way, very noble and serious. It's quite different from the worlds he describes next, which are full of childlike mirth and joy. There's a contrast between these worlds of happiness, great and grave. Grave means serious. There, in those worlds, action is tinged with dream. There's some kind of serious dreaminess. Laughter is tinged with thought. Does everybody know what tinged means? It's more than that. It's when you wash a new red dress with some white cloths. The white cloths will get tinged. There'll be a touch of red color coming. We have to be careful about that, no? When we have new brightly colored clothes, we have to be careful not to wash them with the white cloths. Otherwise, the white cloths will get tinged. So it's like that. There's a faint trace of color, of dreaminess. The laughter there, there's a bit of thoughtfulness and seriousness in it. And even passion, intense feeling. It is a bit restrained. It could wait for its desire. It doesn't have to be satisfied immediately. It can wait until it hears the near approach of God. So it's interesting in just these 4 lines how much he can express. Then he goes on to these other worlds. Bhavana.
Worlds were there of a childlike mirth and joy, a carefree youthfulness of mind and heart, found in the body a heavenly instrument. It lit an orange hallowed round desire, and free deified animal in the limbs, to divine gambols of love and beauty and bliss.
Yes. So these worlds are different. They're also worlds of griefless life, but there the quality is childlike, mirth, laughter, and joy, carefree youthfulness, no seriousness, no thoughtfulness. It's just this spontaneous freedom of mind and heart. And that carefree youthfulness of mind and heart finds in the body a heavenly instrument. It can use the body to play. That youthfulness of mind and heart gives a kind of aura of light, a golden light around even desire. And it sets free the animal in the limbs. Our bodies are the most animal part of us. No? But in this world, these worlds, the animal that's there in the body gets deified, divinized by this youthfulness. Yeah? So the body becomes youthful and gambols. We have this word gambol. It's what young animals do. If you see young goats or young rabbits or young kittens, they frisk and they play. That way they have of exercising their bodies. It's not conscious at all. It's just the body itself is experiencing delight. So it's something like that. The deified animal in the limbs, the animal nature that's there in the body gets divinized and gives this golden glow to everything and frees the body to express itself in that joyful way of young animals. I'm sorry, dear, I've forgotten your name. Philomena. How could I forget? I'm so sorry. Will you read, please? Yeah.
On a radiant soil that gazed at heaven's smile, a swift life impulse stemmed not stopped. It knew not how to tire. Happy there is tears.
Yeah, so there may have been tears, but they're tears of happiness. There are those in that world. The soil is shining. It's the very ground, the earth is shining, radiant, and it's looking up at heaven, reflecting the smile of the sky. And there, the life impulse is not stinted. If something is stinted, it's held back, given only a little bit. Well, there it doesn't stint, it doesn't hold anything back, and it doesn't stop. It flows freely and fully. And the life impulse there doesn't know how to get tired. And if it weeps tears, they are tears of happiness.
This also belongs to the words of griefless.
Sorry?
These are also belong to the griefless words?
Yes, everything that we're reading in this section now, up to page 128, these are all different kinds of griefless worlds. Yes. Did you read Bhuvna?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Kamala.
The word was play, and play the one world. The task of heaven a game of godlike life, a celestial that
Bacchanal.
forever pure, unstayed by faintness as in mortal frames. Life was an eternity of raptures, moods, age never came, care never lined the face.
Yes. So in those worlds, it's like that. Work and play are the same thing. It should be like that for us. No? Our work should be play, and play the only work.
I imagine only Auroville, all these things.
When you read these things. Well, ideally, that's what Auroville should become.
Did Aurobindo invented this phrase? Because this is quite commonly used.
Wait, what?
This one. Their work was play, and play the only work.
Yeah, I think people have picked it up from Sri Aurobindo.
Okay.
But we immediately feel, oh yes, that's how it should be. No? Yeah. And that work, these are heavenly tasks, tasks of heaven, but they are like a game, and a game of testing one's strength, of godlike might. How much heavenly strength can I express? Altogether, this working and playing, he says, is a celestial bacchanal, forever pure. Sri Aurobindo refers to this idea of the bacchanal several times in the poem. Bacchus is the Latin name for the god of delight. He's the god, his Greek name was Dionysus, and he was the one who taught the Greeks to grow grapes and to make wine from them. And so the idea is that this divine wine intoxicates you with delight, with happiness. So here, this is a heavenly bacchanal, enjoying the wine of delight in everything. But it's a very pure enjoyment. There's nothing perverted or distorted or spoiled in that game of godlike might. And in that world, the bodies don't get tired. No? They are unstayed by faintness. Stayed means held back or stopped. No? They don't get tired and faint like our mortal frames do, our bodies, which are subject to death. Their life is an eternity of raptures, moods, many, many different moods which give intense delight, rapture. There's nothing like aging. As we age, it's not only that the bodies get a bit tired and weak, it's also that our faces get lined with all the things we've worried and had to be anxious about in the course of our lives. No? But that doesn't happen there in those worlds. Leela.
Imposing on the safety of the stars, a race and laughter of mortal strengths, the nude godchildren in their playfields ran, smiting the winds with splendor and with speed. Of storm and sun they made companions, sported with the white mane of tossing seas, slew distance trampled to death under their wheels, and wrestled in the arenas of their force.
Yes. So, the nude god children, they don't have to wear any clothes. They're absolutely free and pure there. And the whole universe is their play field for them to explore and run and play among the stars. That is their game. The star, it's very safe for them to do that, these God children, running in their play fields. And they're really behaving like children. They're seeing how fast they can go. They're racing with the winds, smiting the winds. They're really beating the winds with the splendor and the speed of their play. They're playing with the storm and with the sun, with the great powers of the universe. They make them their companions. And they're also playing with the white mane of tossing seas. When there are big waves on the sea, then very often the crests fall over and we see the white foam, and we can think it's like the mane of a horse. So we talk about sea horses, the crests of the seas. No? So they are playing like that. Maybe they are surfing. They're doing something like that, playing with the white mane of tossing seas.
Shraddhavan, we have some painting about 7 horses and the sea.
Yes, I think it's in the ashram dining room somewhere. You must have seen it there.
I love so much.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And also, like our youngsters, they like to go fast. No? They're killing distance, trampled to death under their wheels. So this word trampled, it again makes us think about horses. They don't have motorbikes and engines. They have these horses who are pulling their chariots. And also they play in trials of strength between themselves, wrestling. Who is the strongest? In the arenas of their force. So there are special areas set aside for that, for the wrestling, where they can see who is strongest. Ganga Lakshmi.
Imperious in the radiance like the suns, they kindle even with the glory of their wings, flying like divine largesse to the world.
Let's have a look at that short sentence. Imperious, it's connected with being an emperor. If you're an emperor, nobody can challenge your power. So these God children are like that. They're imperious. Nobody can challenge them. They are so shining, such a brilliant light they're carrying in themselves. They are like suns. And it's as if they're lighting up heaven. To kindle means to start a fire. With the glory of their limbs. Excuse me. Their bodies are so shining and radiant. And that radiance, it's as like an emperor throwing gifts to his people. Largesse. It's when a ruler distributes gifts to the people. Largesse. He throws gold coins into the crowds. So the beauty of their bodies, this light that they spread, it's as if they're throwing gifts to the whole world. Joel.
The spirit force, the heart, to stark delight. They carry to pride and mastery of their charm, as if life's banner on the wings of space.
So again, this is their appearance, no? Their charm. It's like an enchantment, a spell. You can't resist that delight that they are spreading. Stark delight. It's delight that is unmixed with anything else. It's just delight. And it's as if they're carrying this pride and mastery of their charm, this imperiousness, like a banner, as if they are carrying a beautiful big flag proclaiming who they are. Life's the banner of life. This is how life should be, no? On the roads of space. They're advertising that pride and mastery and charm. This is how things are, should be.
Shraddhavan, I have one question. This aspect, when you read this aspect of the glory from in the poem.
Yes. So, but the real characteristic of these worlds which are being described here, it's this childlike youthfulness, no?
Yeah. So that
The youth that can't be defeated in any way. It's such a great power. I think it's one of the powers we have in the gardens around Matrimandir. One of the qualities is youthfulness, no? And this is a divine quality. And because we are mortals, because we are subject to death, that power of youthfulness fades away in us to a certain extent as we get older. But Mother wanted us, she says, a youth that never ages, no? That's one of the qualities that we are supposed to develop. So here...
Shraddhavan was said is 1970-71, and look old, but I am much more young.
Yes.
Inside.
She was full of that untiring youthfulness. Yes.
Mother said once, when she was very old, then she was complaining to the Divine why this body is so fragile, why it is so weak. And then she heard the Divine voice, see how you are. So that means the youth that really ages, that never ages, it is actually not a physical body, it is the real inner body, the Divine body.
Yes.
And one has to see that, not the outer one.
Yes, and that's why, even as we age, now I'm in my mid-70s, we can still feel very youthful inside. Exactly. But the body has increasingly difficulties to keep up with that. No? That's the untransformed body. No? The divinized body doesn't have this problem, or will not have this problem. The difference between the inner being and its outer expression.
Was this felt by Bhavan?
Sorry?
Was this felt by Sri Aurobindo, the getting old like this?
Well, of course, his physical body suffered a lot of ailments in the last 10 years of his life. First there was the accident, yeah, and then his eyesight started to go, and he had other physical problems. He had to receive very unpleasant medical treatment, towards the end. And finally, obviously, he decided that he will allow these forces of illness to act on his body, and he will voluntarily go into this state of death in order to prepare some great conquest. But he did that deliberately, and had the people around him, they couldn't understand. They said, so many times you've cured yourself of all kinds of things. Why aren't you doing it now? And she said, and he said, can't tell you, you wouldn't understand. So who's next? You'll read, yes.
Ideas were luminous comrades of the soul. Mind played with speech, cast javelins of thought, but needed not his instruments toy to know. Knowledge was nature's pastime like the rest.
Yes. So even the mind and the action of the mind can be a game. It plays with speech. It makes me think of Shakespeare and his contemporaries. They were developing the English language in a completely new way, and it was a thing that all intelligent young people did. They played with speech, and we can see that happening. And they used their thoughts like javelins. It's one of the Olympic disciplines, having a long, heavy spear. How far can you throw it? What can you do with it? Thought can be like that. So these are also pastimes. They don't need the instruments of speech and mind, or mind and speech, in order to know. Knowledge just comes spontaneously, like a pastime, like something you do for fun. Everything there is like a pastime, an amusement. Would you like to read? No? Rita.
Where are we?
Knowledge was nature's pastime like the rest. The next line, investitude.
Investitude with the fresh heart's bright ray, and early God instincts, child inheritors, tenants of the perpetuity of time, still thrilling with the first creation's bliss. They steeped existence in their youth of soul.
So this is still the nude godchildren that he's speaking about, no? They are investitured. I think it doesn't happen with our modern aristocracy. But until fairly recently, perhaps until the First World War, when young aristocrats reach a certain age, then their fathers, their elders would pass on to them certain clothes and certain roles that showed their rank in life. The Queen of England still holds investitures. She invites people who have performed some important service to the nation to visit her at Buckingham Palace, and she gives them some kind of a medal or a token, and then there's a big picnic in the grounds and so on, investitured. So it's receiving the signs of your nobility, your aristocracy, of your maturity in an ongoing series of missions that's being handed down from generation to generation. So these young, nude godchildren, what they receive, the blessing that they receive, is this fresh heart's bright ray. They're always wearing that. They are inheriting an early God instinct. As if it's something that has been there from the beginning of creation, this instinct of divinity. Tenets of the perpetuity of time. This word tenant, Sri Aurobindo also uses it several times in the poem. A tenant is somebody who is living in and looking after a property that doesn't actually belong to him. But the literal meaning of the word is a holder, somebody who is holding a responsibility, a property to look after. So what they are holding, what is their mission to take care of, is this perpetuity of time. Perpetuity is also a kind of legal term, that you can hold some property in perpetuity. It can be given to you to take care of. It doesn't belong to you. You are not the owner, but you are can take care of it forever. There's no limit to the time. So they have inherited all this. And they are still feeling this thrill of the bliss of the first act of creation. Several times Sri Aurobindo refers to this, the delight of this first movement of creation that started to bring all this universe into manifestation. They are still enjoying that delight. So the effect that they have on the world around them is like soaking everything that exists around them in their youth of soul, steeping. When we make tea, we put some leaves and pour hot water, and we steep them for a certain time, and then the essence, the goodness that's in the leaves comes into the water. Or if we are dyeing cloth, we will put the color in the water, and then we'll put the plain cloth into that liquid, and it will take all the color. So here what it is, it's like they're giving a bath in which all existence can absorb, soak in that youthfulness of soul, which is their characteristic. Will you read, Heather? Yes?
An exquisite and vehement tyranny, the strong compulsion of their will to joy, poured smiling streams of happiness through the world. They rained the breath of high, immune content, a fortunate gate of days in tranquil air, a flood of universal love and peace.
So that's what they are steeping the world in. Insisting, this strong compulsion is what they're spreading. Their will to joy, to delight, this poured smiling streams of happiness through the world. So that everywhere in the world there's ruling, reigning, a sense of content, of being satisfied. But it's a very high and noble kind of satisfaction, of happiness. And it's immune. It doesn't get disturbed. It can't be disturbed or violated. A fortunate gate of days in tranquil air. We had this word gate last week, I think, no? The week before. Gate, it's the way that you walk. And there, I think it was a regal gait, that people who are rulers, they have a special way of walking. People who are very fortunate, who are blessed, who are happy and high and immune, they also have this way of walking. But here it is the days. The days are like steps in tranquil air. There's no disturbance, no storms and upsets. All this is dominated by a flood of universal love and peace. Praveen.
The sovereignty of tireless sweetness lit, like a song of pleasure on the lips of tongue. The last spontaneous order freed the will, a sun-frank winging of the soul to bliss, the breadth and greatness of the unfettered act, and the swift fire heart's golden liberty.
Sounds so lovely, doesn't it? No? A sovereignty, a sense of ruling. A tireless sweetness is ruling there, like an ongoing song of pleasure on the lips of time. And because there, through all this will to delight and this youthfulness, there's a large, spontaneous order. It's not that we have to make an effort of will all the time to keep things in order. It just happens naturally. So the will becomes free to act freely. The soul can fly like a bird, a sun-frank winging of the soul towards bliss, towards delight. And the action is unfettered. Fetters are chains that prevent you moving. Put fetters on prisoners to prevent them from moving and easily and escaping. Their action is unfettered, can be broad and great and noble. And there can be a swift response from the heart, the fire heart. A golden liberty can be expressed. Alice.
There was no falsehood of soul servants. There came no crookedness of thought or word to rob creation of its native truth. All was sincerity and natural force.
Soul severance. It means two things. The soul being cut off from its origin and the soul being cut off from other souls, separated, severance, cutting off. Actually, soul severance is a falsehood, because the truth is oneness. But somehow in our material world, everything has been cut up into little bits, and the work is to recover the oneness. So there's none of that, no falsehood of soul severance.
What is means Shraddhavan severance?
To sever something means to cut it. We are severed from our origin, and we are severed from each other also. No? Yeah. So that's the falsehood of this world that we live in. And all the other falsehoods come from that, from the oneness being cut up into little bits. There's nothing like that. And so, because there's no falsehood, there's no crookedness. Everything goes straight and spontaneously and clearly in the right direction. This crookedness, it's a Vedic word they used for something that deviated from the path of the truth. No crookedness, either of thought or of word or action. Nothing that could rob creation of its native truth, that truth that it's born with. The whole creation was born true, or born from the truth and with the truth. In those worlds, all was sincerity and natural force, no pretense, no straining of the will, nothing. Their freedom was soul rule, the only rule, the highest law was freedom. Yes?
I just wanted to ask you this. When saying there was no falsehood, there came no brokenness, their freedom was soul rule, which is, what is this place that you mentioned is there?
It's these griefless worlds. That's not the world that we live in. The world that we live in is full of grief and pain. No? But Asvapati is being shown the whole range of life worlds. And just exactly where we are reading now, he's seeing these worlds where there is no pain and suffering, no grief. And it's interesting that there's a whole range of them. They are not all the same. They are grouped with different qualities. This whole section, which starts on page 123 at the top, or it's actually from the section break on page 120. But he starts this description of the... First of all, he sees them at a distance, shining like distant stars. There glimmered the kingdoms of a griefless life. But then as he concentrates more on it, he's able to see, and he's not quite able to enter them, but his consciousness can identify with them and experience all these things that we're reading about.
So this world still exists in different times or different...
They're on different planes of existence. That's what Asvapati is doing now. In the whole of this book 2, at the beginning of it, in the first canto, he's shown it's like a stairway of planes of existence. From the very highest levels, which are almost beyond creation, touching the transcendent, to the very deepest and lowest, which is our world, the material world here. Of course, some of the life worlds also seem to go even deeper, but our world is the base on which this mountain, of planes of existence are founded. And because of that, in our world, there are qualities of all the other planes. So as we read about them, one plane after another, we can't help recognizing things that are in our world also. It's as if in matter are compressed the qualities of all these many, many, many levels of creation. Here we're in an evolutionary world, and they're all unfolding themselves gradually. But Asvapati has shown them as their separate planes, levels of existence. And there's something in us that recognizes that this is the true life. It's not the life that we experience, but there's something in us that feels familiar with this and says, yes, that's how it should be. That's some kind of memory we brought with us when we agreed to take part in this adventure of...
I have some vision. It's difficult to express what I have. I tell my God, it's not far.
Yeah, that's what he says. It seems far away, but it's very near to our hearts, to the longing heart and the senses. The senses, the body, they have a memory of this way things should be, really. So let's stop there for today. It's already like...
What is the difference between tenants and tenements?
A tenement, well, tenants live in tenements. A tenement is a big house with many small apartments or rooms where tenants can live temporarily. Yes.
Worlds were there of a happiness great and grave, and action tinged with dream, laughter with thought, and passion there could wait for its desire until it heard the near approach of God. Worlds were there of a childlike mirth and joy, a carefree youthfulness of mind and heart, found in the body a heavenly instrument. It lit an aureate halo round desire, and freed the deified animal in the limbs to divine gambols of love and beauty and bliss. On a radiant soil that gazed at heaven's smile, a swift life impulse stinted not nor stopped. It knew not how to tire. Happy were its tears. Their work was play, and play the only work, the tasks of heaven a game of godlike might, a celestial bacchanal forever pure, unstayed by faintness as in mortal frames. Life was an eternity of rapture's moods. Age never came, care never lined the face. Imposing on the safety of the stars a race and laughter of immortal strengths, the nude god children in their playfields ran, smiting the winds with splendor and with speed. Of storm and sun they made companions, sported with the white mane of tossing seas, slew distance, trampled to death under their wheels, and wrestled in the arenas of their force. Imperious in their radiance, like the suns, they kindled heaven with the glory of their limbs, flung like a divine largesse to the world. A spell to force the heart to stark delight. They carried the pride and mastery of their charm, as if life's banner on the roads of space. Ideas were luminous comrades of the soul. Mind played with speech, cast javelins of thought, but needed not these instruments toil to know. Knowledge was nature's pastime like the rest. Investitured with the fresh heart's bright ray, an early God instinct's child inheritors, tenants of the perpetuity of time, still thrilling with the first creation's bliss, they steeped existence in their youth of soul. An exquisite and vehement tyranny, the strong compulsion of their will to joy, poured smiling streams of happiness through the world. There reigned a breath of high immune content, a fortunate gate of days in tranquil air, a flood of universal love and peace, a sovereignty of tireless sweetness lived like a song of pleasure on the lips of time. A large spontaneous order freed the will, a sun-frank winging of the soul to bliss, the breadth and greatness of the unfettered act, and the swift fire heart's golden liberty. There was no falsehood of soul severance. There came no crookedness of thought or word to rob creation of its native truth. All was sincerity and natural force. There freedom was sole rule and highest law.